At 15, Jason Hill thought his father had died in a car crash. That's what his mom told him, since he was old enough to ask. But years later, one small discovery in the attic would reveal that nothing about that story was true. Because his father didn't die, he disappeared, and his mother might have been the reason why. This case would later become one of the most disturbing family crimes in small-town Ohio's history. Not just for what happened, but for how long the truth stayed buried. Jason Hill grew up in the quiet suburb of Bensley, Ohio. Population, 7,000. The kind of town where everyone waves, and gossip moves faster than traffic. His mom, Elaine Hill, was a nurse. Quiet, polite, always smiling at church. Her husband, Daniel Hill, was a history teacher. They were the picture of normal, until one freezing night in February 2009. Elaine told police that Daniel had gone to visit his brother and never came back. Hours later, a wrecked sedan matching his license plate was found at the bottom of a ravine, completely burned. Inside, they found a body too damaged to identify. Elaine broke down at the scene, whispering, "That's him. That's my husband." The coroner declared an accident. The body was cremated. Case closed. Jason was just 7 years old. He never got to say goodbye. Life went on. Elaine raised Jason alone, working long night shifts at the hospital. She never dated again. Every year, she lit a candle on February 16th, the day his father died. But something about the ritual always felt strange. Elaine would whisper under her breath before blowing out the flame, as if talking to someone unseen. And she always said the same thing: "You promised you'd stay gone." Jason didn't think much of it, until he turned 16. That's when everything started unraveling. It started with a storm. Lightning hit a tree behind their house, and part of the roof caved in. While cleaning the attic, Jason found an old wooden chest, hidden beneath insulation. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to his mother, all signed by the same name, Daniel Hill. The first was dated 6 months after the crash. "Elaine, I know what you did. You can't hide forever." Jason froze. His father was writing after his supposed death. He tore through the rest of the letters, each one more desperate than the last. "Stop lying to him. He deserves to know I'm alive. I'm coming home." The final one, dated 3 weeks before Jason's 17th birthday, said, "If anything happens to me again, it'll be on you." That night, Jason waited for his mom to get home. When she walked in, soaked from the rain, he held out one of the letters. "Mom," he said, "what is this?" Elaine's face drained of color. She didn't deny it. She just whispered, "Where did you find that?" Jason demanded the truth. Elaine sat down, trembling, and said, "Your father wasn't the man you think he was. He hurt people. He hurt us." Jason didn't believe her. His dad was the kindest person he remembered, gentle, patient, always reading bedtime stories. Elaine refused to say more, but her hands were shaking so badly. Jason knew there was more she wasn't telling. The next morning, she was gone. Jason called her phone for hours. No answer. By nightfall, he went to the police. Detective Laura Keene took the report. At first, it looked like a simple missing person case, a tired single mom who needed space. But when Jason mentioned the letters from his dead father, everything changed. Keene ordered a records check on Daniel Hill's case. What she found made no sense. There was no autopsy report, no dental record match, no DNA verification. The body from the crash had never been confirmed as Daniel Hill at all. Elaine had identified it visually, and the remains were cremated before further testing. The case file even had a handwritten note from the original coroner. Unconfirmed identity, pending verification. That verification never happened. Detectives reopened the file. They tracked down Daniel's old bank records, his social security number, his teaching license. None had been used since 2009, until one small withdrawal popped up in Detroit, 3 years after his supposed death. Security footage showed a thin man in a baseball cap pulling money from an ATM. The frame was blurry, but the face looked eerily like Daniel Hill. The timestamp? 3 weeks before the last letter Jason found. Investigators expanded the search to an abandoned cabin registered under Daniel's brother's name, deep in a forest 40 miles north. When they got there, the place looked untouched for years, except for one thing: a faint smell of smoke. Inside was a small fire pit, a typewriter, and a stack of envelopes identical to the ones Jason found, each addressed to Elaine. each sealed, unsent. On the desk lay a single sheet of paper, half-typed. She said she'd rather bury me than tell the truth. Then the typing stopped mid-sentence, as if someone had been interrupted. Detectives found a trail of footprints leading into the woods and ending at a shallow grave. Inside, they found bones. Male, mid-40s. DNA confirmed the impossible. It was Daniel Hill. He hadn't died in 2009. He died 4 years later. Elaine Hill became the prime suspect overnight, but she was nowhere to be found. Detectives questioned neighbors. One remembered seeing Elaine in her backyard the night before she vanished, burning something in a metal drum. Inside the ash pile, police found fragments of paper and what looked like melted plastic. Forensics confirmed it was a hospital ID badge, hers. But there was another piece they couldn't identify. A corner of laminated card with a man's face partially visible. The name was burned off, but the remaining letters spelled Sun Hill. She'd been destroying Jason's birth certificate. While police hunted for Elaine, forensic teams ran DNA comparisons between Jason and the body confirmed to be Daniel. The results shocked everyone. There was no genetic relation. Jason wasn't Daniel Hill's son. Elaine had lied about that too. And when they ran the DNA again, the database flagged a match to another man, someone still alive. His name was Dr. Leonard Voss, a surgeon at the same hospital where Elaine worked. He was married, with 3 children, and when detectives confronted him, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. He admitted to an affair with Elaine 16 years ago. He had no idea she'd had a son, but when shown a picture of Jason, he said quietly, "He looks just like me." 2 weeks later, a USB drive arrived at the police station in an unmarked envelope. Inside was a single video file titled Confession. The video opened with Elaine Hill sitting in a dimly lit room, eyes hollow, hair unkempt. She stared straight into the camera. "If you're watching this, you've already found Daniel. I didn't kill him. Not the first time." Her voice trembled. When he found out about Leonard, he snapped. He said he'd take Jason and disappear. I begged him to let me explain. The night of the crash, he staged it himself. He wanted me to think he was dead, to punish me, but he didn't expect me to move on. When he came back, he threatened me again. I couldn't let him destroy Jason's life, so I did what he couldn't. She paused, breathing hard. I buried him where he used to take Jason fishing. He said the woods would always keep his secrets. I guess he was right. And she leaned closer. But I'm not done yet. There's one more truth he hid from both of us, and you'll find it when the time's right. The video cut to black. Investigators scoured the fishing cabin site again. Buried beneath the floorboards, they found a small metal box wrapped in plastic. Inside was one last letter, addressed to Jason. It was from his father. "If you're reading this, son, your mother's told you her version of the truth. Here's mine. I didn't fake my death to punish her. I did it to escape her. She was sick, Jason. Not just jealous, dangerous. She used to say if she couldn't have me, no one could. When she found out about Leonard, she lost control. She drugged me, crashed my car, and burned a stranger's body to make it look like me. I barely survived. I ran, but she found me again, and I knew she'd never stop." At the bottom of the page, a final line. "If she's still alive when you find this, don't let her near you." 3 days later, police got a tip. A motel manager 20 miles away reported a woman matching Elaine's description, disoriented, hiding under a false name. When officers arrived, they found her sitting on the bed, staring at a wall covered in newspaper clippings. All of them were about the reopened Hill case. In her hands, she clutched a photo of Jason. Next to it was a half-written letter addressed to him. "I did what I had to. You'll understand when you're older." When questioned, she refused to speak. Her lawyer entered an insanity plea, but prosecutors argued otherwise. They said Elaine Hill was not insane, just calculated. She faked grief, faked identity, and for years manipulated everyone around her to protect her secret. The jury took 3 hours to deliberate. Verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. But here's where the story takes a bizarre turn. Despite her conviction, Elaine Hill was never sentenced to prison. Instead, she was committed indefinitely to a psychiatric facility at her own request. During evaluation, she claimed she still received letters from Daniel, letters postmarked after his confirmed death. The envelopes had no return address. The handwriting matched Daniel's perfectly, and every letter ended the same way. You can't bury the truth. Forensic experts couldn't explain it. The ink was aged. The paper came from a discontinued brand used over a decade earlier. It was as if someone, or something, wanted the lie to keep living. Jason never visited her. He finished school, changed his last name, and left Bensley behind. But one night, years later, curiosity got the best of him. He returned to the old house, abandoned now, roof collapsing, windows boarded. In what used to be his mother's room, he found a small locked drawer. Inside was a cassette tape, labeled simply, "For Jason." He took it home and played it. Static filled the speakers. Then came a faint voice, male, tired, whispering, "Jason, if you're hearing this, I forgive her. She thought she was protecting you, but she wasn't lying about everything. There's something else buried, something you need to see." Coordinates followed. Jason drove there the next morning. The location led to the edge of a dry lake bed near the old cabin. He dug where the X was marked on a fallen tree. After several feet, his shovel hit metal. It was a small tin box. Inside, Polaroids. Each one showed him as a baby, but the woman holding him wasn't Elaine. Police traced the photo lab markings to a clinic in Michigan, the same hospital where Elaine once worked. They discovered that Daniel Hill's real wife, Rachel Hill, had gone missing 2 months after Jason was born. Her body was never found. Elaine had taken her place. Fake paperwork, changed identities, and raised Jason as her own. The car crash wasn't about revenge. It was about covering up the first murder. When detectives confronted Elaine in the psychiatric ward, she smiled. "You finally found her," she said softly. "Now you see why I couldn't let him live." She refused to elaborate. A week later, she hanged herself in her cell. In her pocket was one final letter, addressed to Jason. "They would have taken you away. I saved you the only way I knew how. You were never supposed to find out." The case closed officially as a double homicide and identity fraud spanning nearly 2 decades. But it left more questions than answers. Why had Daniel kept sending letters long after his death? How did Elaine obtain his DNA to fake reports? And who took the Polaroids? The FBI later found traces of old medical sedatives in both victims' remains. Drugs only accessible in hospital settings. Elaine had used them in her patients. She'd known exactly how to make death look natural. 5 years later, Jason received a certified package with no sender. Inside was a birth certificate, newly printed, official seal intact. His name, Jason Voss. Mother, Rachel Hill. Father, Dr. Leonard Voss. But scrawled across the margin in faded blue ink were 6 words. She was right. They would have taken you. The handwriting matched his father's, except Daniel Hill was dead, and Leonard Voss swore he never wrote it. Forensics confirmed the ink was fresh, less than a week old. To this day, no one knows who sent it. Jason now lives under a new identity. He's never spoken publicly about his parents, but locals say the old Hill house still stands, rotting in silence. Sometimes, at night, neighbors swear they see a light flicker in the attic. The same attic where Jason found those letters years ago. And each February 16th, the supposed anniversary of Daniel's death, a candle burns in the window. The next morning, it's always gone. But the message carved into the attic beam remains. "You promised you'd stay gone. I only wanted to keep you safe."